This conference will now be recorded.
So as you can see here from the home page, this is what it looks like for your actual application once we've added a program in the major that you are applying to. Now, if I go in right now and I look at my profile section on here, this is where you can make any changes to the information that you provided when you actually created your account. Okay, so when I'm logging into profile, obviously it's just like my basic contact information, name, address, phone number, and then if you were to change like your username and password, for example. Okay, the one part that I did want to go over is the extended profile section. So these are the actual questions that they do ask you when you are creating your account. And I just want to make sure that you guys did it correctly. Okay. So the degree goal for you is it's going to be your first bachelor's degree. Okay. So because you are coming straight out of high school, or even if you're a transfer student coming from a community college, it's still going to be your first bachelor's degree. Okay. So the next section, once you click off first bachelor's degree, then we are indicating graduating high school senior. Okay. And they are saying with or without college coursework prior to high school graduation. So once you've done that, the question that is going to pop up is, have you taken and earned college credits through a community college or university? The reason I wanted to bring this particular section up is because when they ask if you have taken or earned college credits, they are not referring to the AP classes that you have taken, okay? That has nothing to do with this section right here. So when they ask you this specific question, it is only if you have taken college level courses at a community college or a four-year university and have actually received college credit for it. Okay. So again, this does not apply to AP. I have a lot of students that take AP courses but haven't necessarily taken a college level course and actually received credit for it. Okay, so just make sure that you are checking off the appropriate answer here. The reason for that is if you indicate yes, that you have you've earned college credits, there's going to be a whole nother section where you actually need to add the colleges that you had attended and the courses. Okay, so if you have not, I want you to go ahead and check no if it's simply AP classes. So that's what we're going to go with right here, is we're going to indicate no. Okay. And then they're going to ask you if you are applying to return to a CSU campus which you've attended, which everybody should be no. Okay, because again, it's either you're coming from high school or you're transferring from a 2-year. And then having served in the military, again, that should be no. And then none of you are also international applicants. Okay, so again, that is just the information that they ask you when you are creating your account. I just want to make sure you've done it correctly. So if you need to make any changes, go ahead and do that. Okay. Now, once you have created your profile, what it's going to do is it's going to take us to the section where you could actually add the colleges that you are applying to. Okay, and this is what it looks like. So the reason that when I logged in it looked a little different is because I already did add one school. So the way that you are going to search for the college that you are applying to and selecting your major is you can simply go into campus name from the drop-down menu. Okay. And then from here, you're able to select the specific campus that you are going to be applying to. So once you check on the drop-down menu, you'll see all of the Cal States listed there. Okay. I don't think on my screen it's showing the drop-down, but let me see if I do this. Okay. So what I've done is I indicated Long Beach. I'm not sure why the drop-down's not showing to you guys, but that's what I have selected here. Now, you will notice that because when I created my account, I indicated specifically that I'm applying for fall of 2020, that every program name, degree type, and start term is going to be your Long Beach undergraduate, bachelor's degree, fall of 2020. The deadlines, you will also see that they're all the same, okay? So just as a reminder, Cal State schools do not do early action, okay? They are only just single, regular, November 30th is your deadline. What I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to pick a random major, but I'm going to indicate that for Long Beach, I'm going to be applying under American Studies, okay? Now, some colleges will actually prompt you to pick an alternate major, okay? Specifically, Long Beach is not doing that for me, all right? So what I've done here is once I indicate Long Beach, you can still continue to go through and look at all the other majors that you are allowed to select. Okay, so you'll see there's a lot. Again, they should all be bachelor's degrees. Let me see here. And you'll notice again, all deadlines are going to be November 30th. Okay. Let me see. Okay. So now that we've added the program on there and the major, what we're able to do is go to my application, and this is where you can begin filling it out. Okay. Now, if you are applying to multiple Cal States, what you're going to do is, again, just go back into add program. Okay. You're going to use that drop down menu, and you're going to go ahead and add whatever school and declare the major. So I'm going to go ahead and just click Cal State East Bay, just to give you another example. I'm going to indicate that I'm applying under art design. Okay, so now that it's selected and it's highlighted as green, I can go back to the application. Okay. So what they're doing for me here is anytime I add a school, you're going to see that there's going to be a program material section on the bottom right corner where those 4 squares are. This is where there are specific questions to the school that you may need to answer. Okay, but what I'm going to start with is the very first box on the top left, which is personal information. Okay, so I have gone through and I have filled out this information just ahead of time, but I'm going to go through each section with you guys anyways. Okay, so for the release statement, you're going to see that there's just specific questions here that you need to read through for the statements, and you need to check it off. Okay, so pretty much what they're saying for the first one here is that you just certify all of the information that you're inputting on your application is correct. Okay, so that would include, you know, your name, your date of birth, your social. It's just you're being honest with your answers and everything's complete. And then we have the CASP results release statement. Okay, so what you're telling them is you just authorize California Department of Education to release the CAS score report to the Cal State system. And that could be for purposes of placement and determining what types of courses you are going to be starting out at, for example, for like English or math. Okay, so you will go ahead and indicate if you've completed it and that you do agree to release your results. Okay, everybody should be taking these, and everybody should have attended a high school in California, and you're currently attending one. Okay, then we have release of contact information. So this is just indicating you're letting them know, okay, I authorize the Cal State system to release my information to any of the Cal State campuses before or after you submit your app. So once you've checked off these boxes, you're going to go ahead and click on Save and Continue. And then what we want to do is, rather than going to the dashboard, which takes us to the home page, you just want to go ahead and say Continue to Next Section, because this is going to take you line by line through the application, right? Next, we have biographic information. So your name should already be filled in from when you first created your account. That's not going to change. So that's why you don't see it in bold or where you can actually make changes to it. If you do find that you've spelled something wrong or you didn't use the appropriate uppercase and lowercase, then you can go ahead and click on this profile section right here and you can update that information, which is that first page I showed you at the very beginning. Okay. One thing that I do want to point out to you guys, it is so important for you to use the appropriate like uppercase and lowercase when you're doing your name, when you're doing your address, anything you are filling out, okay? If you are simply putting your name on the application and your address, and you are not capitalizing the first words of your address here, the college is just going to think that you're very lazy, okay? So please don't be lazy. You need to use capital letters for your name, for addresses. Okay, I will review this information when I'm actually going through your applications, but just take care of it ahead of time. I shouldn't have to come back to you and tell you that you actually need to use uppercase and lowercase letters. Okay. Now they're asking you about an alternate name. This is similar to what I had mentioned in the other application webinars that we had gone over. If there are any other names used on your actual official documents through school or like through College Board or ACT, for example, you need to indicate what that name is, okay? And then they just want to know if you have like a preferred name. So maybe there's like a nickname that you have that you would want to use. So if like you're a Nicholas and you go by Nick, that would be fine. But I wouldn't put in necessarily like a family nickname, okay? Then they come through like legal sex questions. They want to know what you consider yourself to be, how you describe yourself. So you guys are able to go in these and answer them. And then birth information. So here they're asking obviously for your date of birth. They want to know what country you were born in, specifically what city you were born in as well. This isn't the current city that you live in, but the actual city you were born in, okay? Your state and then the county. So some of you are LA County, some of you are Ventura County. You just need to indicate the appropriate one. Obviously, if you were born in a different state, there could be different counties, okay? And then just some general questions that you would answer here as well. So first one, for example, at any time since you turned age 13, were both your parents deceased? Were you in foster care? Or were you a dependent or ward of the court? Most of you are going to indicate no to this, okay? Most of these questions should actually be no for all of our applicants. Then we have the statewide student ID. This is something I had mentioned in the UC webinar as well. So the California statewide student ID is something that you are assigned if you go to a public school in California. You will not have a student ID if you are at a private school, okay? So again, this is different from your actual school ID that you are assigned. So what you will want to do is look on the official transcripts that you have, and then it should have your statewide student ID on there. It does indicate that it's a 10-digit number, okay? So again, it's not your school ID that they assigned you, it's a state student ID. So it will not be on your transcripts that you print off of Aries or Zangle. So you do need an actual official copy to be able to see what that student ID is. So again, as you go through, you're clicking save and continue, and then it's just going to take us on to the next section. So general contact information, you're going to go ahead and put in the address. Okay. They do want to know if it's your permanent address, so it should be yes for everybody. Again, if you're putting in like a PO box, that could change, but I do recommend that you just be putting in your home address. If your parents are divorced, again, you are using the address for whichever parent is going to be filling out financial aid forms. Okay, so if we're going to be using mom's financials, then it needs to be your mom's address, and that's where you are indicating that you live. Okay. Phone number, Again, this is going to be plugged in from when you created your account, same as email address. Okay, so a lot of this is just your basic information to start with. And then we come into citizenship. Okay, so they just want to know if you are a US citizen, permanent resident. Okay. If you were born outside of the US, which we do have some students, they just want to know when you moved here. So the reason for that is they just want to make sure that you didn't move here like 2 months ago, and then when you get into a Cal State or UC, for example, obviously they're just looking at your tuition rate. So that's the reason they're asking what year you actually moved here. And then for residency, they just want to know what state you regard as your permanent home. So everybody should be California on this particular webinar. Do you claim California residency? It would be yes. And then if you've lived there continuously since birth. So some of you may have moved from another state, and that's fine. If you have, what they're going to do is then they're just going to want to know when your present stay in California actually began. You do not have to be exact with the actual day that you moved there, but the month and year should be pretty accurate. Next, we have race and ethnicity. So first question, just asking if you consider yourself to be Hispanic or Latino. And then from there, you can go into more specific detail as to what your actual race is. And then as a summary, Cal State only needs to report one. So you could indicate, okay, I'm just white. You can indicate Hispanic, Asian, or you could say you're 2 or more races. So you do have that option as well, even though they say you only need to report one summary or race. One of the options is 2 or more. Next, we have parent or guardian information. Okay. Now, I just had input it as I opted not to, but you're going to see here that they specifically will state on your end, if you have not filled this out just yet, if you are a dependent student, you need to put down at least one parent. Okay, so that would be everybody on here. Now, you can go ahead and put both parents, that is fine. Again, if your parents are divorced, then we are just going to be indicating the parent whose financial information we're going to be using. So similar to the one that we used earlier when we had to put an address down for your home, that's the parent that you're going to use. So you'll notice that they're just asking for kind of basic information here. They do want to know if you give the admissions office permission to communicate with your parent. It doesn't hurt to say yes. You're just going to be providing, details with like email and phone number, so that way they can reach out to them if they need to. Okay. Next, we would have other information. So they are asking about Social Security number. So if you are applying for financial aid, you need to put down your Social Security number, okay? Because that is how they are going to match up the information for your application as well as your financial aid forms. They're going to link them together with your name, your date of birth, and your social. So I cannot stress how important it is that you guys make sure you are putting the appropriate Social Security number down. So make sure that you do speak with your parents and you have an actual copy of the Social Security card in front of you when you are entering in your number. I've had parents fill it out wrong on forms. So again, just make sure you actually have documentation in front of you so you know what it is. Then we have language proficiency. So they want to know what your first language is, and then if you do want to add any additional languages, you can. What it would do is they're just going to go ahead and give you the drop-down menu. You'll see there's a ton on here. So you're able to indicate the additional language that you speak, and then you are going to tell them what your proficiency level is. So the options that they give you are beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Okay. It is a little different from the common application, whereas common application specifically states There's boxes you can check off that are it's your first language, you speak, you read, you write, and it's spoken at home. This one is simply, are you proficient in this language? So they mean speaking. Okay, so again, if you know Spanish but you can only read, then you're not going to be considered necessarily to be proficient in it. Military status. Again, this is not in bold just because this is something that you filled out and answered when you created your account. Okay. But next, they just want to know if you are a dependent of a person who is currently serving or has served. So the reason for that is there are certain educational benefits that veterans are allowed to use for their children. So that's the reason they're asking that. Okay. And then the next question here is teacher or other education credential information. So they want to know if you are interested in earning your teaching credentials. So there are some of you that do want to become teachers. This is your opportunity to say, okay, I want to apply to a credential program, but I'm doing it at a later time, or you want to apply to a credential program this time around. Okay. CalFresh, this is going to be if you want to check eligibility for like food assistance, like groceries and stuff. So most of our students are going to be no on this one. But then we have the California Promise. So what they're doing here with the California Promise, this is new in the past couple of years. They want to know if you are interested in participating in this particular program where you are going to be finishing your bachelor's degree in 4 years. Okay, so I know that sounds weird because that's normally what you go do for your undergraduate is you finish your bachelor's in 4 years. But at the Cal States, a lot of the programs are impacted, so it could actually take you 5 or 6 years to graduate. So I always tell students to say yes to this and that you are interested in participating in the California Promise. What this means is when you start attending the Cal State school, they're going to have you meet with a counselor, set up your schedule, and you're going to be meeting with them on a consistent basis to make sure that you are taking the appropriate credits that are going to allow you to graduate in 4 years. Okay, so it's just a little more guidance. Honestly, you should be doing it because especially if you want to go into like a master's degree or med school or law school later on, you shouldn't be taking longer than 4 years to get your bachelor's degree. So everybody should say yes to this particular question. Okay. And then the last one on this page is how did you hear about us? This is really just in general for marketing purposes. So there's a lot of options in the drop-down menu. It's, did your counselor, was there an outreach program? Did you just Google us? So it doesn't really matter how you answer it, but they're just trying to figure out how students are hearing about them. So next we have the financial and parental information. So here, everybody's going to be considered a dependent student when they ask this question. And then what they are asking you to do is put in how many people are in your household. Okay, so this does include any siblings. They want to know what the adjusted gross income is, as well as your parents' untaxed income. So this is going to be, obviously, income questions are going to be something that you need to go over with your parents. They will be looking at their 2018 tax return to provide you with this information. Okay. The reason that they are asking for this on the application is there are certain income limits where a student may be eligible for a fee waiver based off of how much money their parent makes. So obviously you cannot lie on this and say, there's 5 people in the house and we only make $40,000 just to get a fee waiver because they're going to verify that information. So just make sure you are putting in the appropriate numbers here. Campus housing. So they just want to know if you are interested in actually living on campus, if the space is available. Okay, so it does depend on obviously the schools you're applying to, doing your housing applications once you've been admitted, but unless you are specifically applying to a Cal State that's close to home so you can commute, you should be indicating that you are interested in campus housing. Okay. And then we've got parents' education level. I had explained this previously in the webinars, but if your parents have not earned a 4-year bachelor's degree, then you are going to indicate they are a high school graduate. Okay. You don't need to put down that they went to community college or they did some college. It's strictly if they did not get a bachelor's degree, then go ahead and put high school graduate. Okay. Same thing as if your parents earned their degree in another country, but they did not earn a degree here in the US, then you can go ahead and say high school graduate, just because there is more incentive if you are considered a first generation college student. Okay, again, you're not lying on your applications, but you just need to fill out the appropriate answer based off of that information I just told you. Okay, so now what we've done, which we go to this section, is they've moved me on to the education portion. Okay, so if I go back onto my application, you're going to see as I've gone through each section, for personal information, I have everything completed already. Okay, so now they're moving me on to academic history. This is where we're going to be plugging in the high school that you've attended, you are attending, putting in your coursework, standardized tests, and so forth. Okay, so if we go into high schools attended, I have not put anything in here yet because I wanted to go ahead and do it with you guys. So what you're able to do is go ahead and click on Add High School. Okay. It has US automatically indicated on there, and then you're going to go ahead and put in the zip code for your school. So I'm just going to indicate Westlake. Okay. And then we're going to put the dates attended. So some of you do have multiple high schools, and that's fine. You just need to indicate each high school and then put the appropriate dates that you had attended that particular school. Okay. So if you have been at the same high school all 4 years, it should be August or September of 2016, and then your end date is going to be May or June of 2020, depending on when you guys graduate. Okay. For term type, it should be a semester system. That's what most of the schools out here use. Okay. Now, once you save the information here, they're going to ask you about your graduation status. Okay. So again, I'm indicating that I've attended Westlake High School for all 4 years, but if you had attended multiple schools, that's where you're going to use that Add High School button and put in the other high schools that you've attended. Okay. If you have taken courses through an online program like Apex, for example, then you would go ahead and list Apex as an additional high school as well. That way you can put in the appropriate courses that are going to match up with that when we're indicating your classes and your grades. So below, what you're going to be doing is I have or will graduate with my high school diploma. They want to know which high school it's from. So when you only have one, it's just going to give the one that you entered in. But if you've had multiple, they want to know which one you're going to be graduating from. And then the date that you expect to receive it. So again, that'll be either May or June of 2020. Okay. So once we click save and continue, we can continue on to the next section. And then this is where we are going to put in the high school coursework. Okay. It's not that difficult. It's just very time consuming. So you do want to have your transcripts in front of you. Okay. I'm just going to put in like one course for each grade level so you guys know what you're supposed to be doing. Okay. But the one thing that you want to keep in mind, which is going to be similar to what I told you for the UC system, is you're doing the courses that are UC A through G approved, okay? You are not putting in courses like PE or health because those are not A through G requirements. So please keep that in mind. All right, so what we're going to go ahead and do here is we can indicate 9th grade, okay? It is Westlake High School, and that particular year that 9th grade fell on was 2016 to 2017, okay? Let me see. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and click the green check mark on the right hand side. And now it gives me the option to put in the course. All right, so here, sorry, I know my screen looks a little weird right now. Okay. So as you start to type in the course here, you're going to notice that there's going to be English classes that are going to come up in a drop-down menu. Okay. So what I'm just going to indicate for now is we're going to say it was English 9 Honors. Okay. And then course type, you're going to see that it is an honors course, so you need to go ahead and indicate that. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and put in the grades that you had earned for fall and spring. So you will notice here for the Cal State system, unlike the UC, they do allow you to input the plus or minus. Okay. So most schools use a simple just straight A or B, but if you do have a plus or minus indicated on your transcripts, then I need you guys to enter that in as well. Okay. So once you've done that, we can go ahead and click on the green check mark, and now it's going to give you another option to start entering in more courses. So you always want to enter in all of your 9th grade, go to your 10th, your 11th, and then your senior year grades. Okay, so let's just say for now I've finished entering in my 9th grade. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in a grade level. So for here, I'm going to go ahead and say 10th grade, still at Westlake, but you're going to notice it did not change the year for me. So you need to go ahead and manually change that. Okay. When I review your applications, I will make sure that you have the appropriate year selected. And let's say you make a mistake and you put down that 10th grade was 2018 to 19. When you go in to change that, you're going to lose every course and grade that you've input. So you just want to make sure right off the bat that you're doing it the correct way, because otherwise it's just more work for you later on. So we can go ahead and click on the check mark here. And then again, we're going to go ahead and put in, I'm just sticking with English for now. We're going to go ahead and say English 10 honors. Again, we're going to indicate honors from the drop down, and then we can go ahead and put in the grades that you had earned. So we would go on with 10th grade or 11th grade and then senior year. So I'm going to skip 11th for now. Now for 12th grade, that's your current year, which is going to be 1920. Okay. And what we're going to be doing here is, let's put in, we're going to go ahead and indicate that we're doing AP English Lit. They did manually input that it's an AP course. Okay. So for fall, what you are doing is you are going to indicate that it's in progress. And then for spring, you're going to go ahead and say that it's planned. Okay. This is the same way that the UC application was. So all senior year courses should be in progress for fall and then planned for spring. Now, some of you, there's going to be the options of government and econ. As I had explained previously, those are separate semesters for most high schools. So what you would be doing for an instance of, let's say, government, okay, we're going to say AP government, okay, we're going to say I'm currently taking it. But for spring, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that there is no grade. Okay, so the reason I'm doing that is you are not taking AP Government in the spring semester, but it switches to economics. So that's where we would have to go in and add econ as well. Okay, so just keep that in mind, right? So now once you've gone through and you have entered in all of your courses, let's see here, check it off. We're going to get the save and continue button. Okay. As I said, I'm just putting a few in just to show you guys how to do it. Okay. And then what it's doing is it's taking us to the A through G matching. Okay. So what's important here is we want to make sure that you meet the minimum requirements that they're indicating. Okay. So for history and social science right now, it's indicating that I only have half a year. The reason for that is because all I've done is put in AP government for fall semester. But then it is indicating that I have 2 years for English because I did put in 9th and 10th grade English. Okay, so this is a way for us to just verify that you have all the appropriate courses. Sometimes this doesn't match up, and if it doesn't, don't worry, I will be reviewing it for you and making sure that you do have the appropriate information listed there, but usually it should be okay. And then from there, what it's going to do is once it confirms that you've met the appropriate minimum requirements, it tells you the total years that you have for each subject, and then it calculates your GPA for you. Okay. So as a reminder, Cal States use the same GPA as the UC system does. So although you are putting in like your 9th grade courses and everything, they focus on your 10th and 11th grade, and then they give you up to 8 semesters of honors AP credit. So you may notice that you have a higher GPA than a 4.0, for example. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next section, which is going to be your standardized test. Okay. Everybody should be adding in standardized tests, so you're not clicking this button that says I am not. But this is where we can go ahead and click on add an ACT score. Okay, so we can go ahead and say yes, it has been taken. They want to know when you took it, so we'll just say September 14th. You're going to be putting in your ACT student ID. So when they ask for your ID, that is not the username that you are logging in with. That is the ID that shows up on your account once you are logged in. So there's going to be a number that you use. Okay. And then we can go ahead and put in the individual scores for each section. Okay. You can put in multiple ACT on here. That's perfectly fine. On the UC application, you are only allowed to put in your highest from a single test date, but on the Cal State application, you are able to put in multiple tests. Okay. So of the options that they have here, you're going to notice that there's the ACT, and then we have the SAT. Okay. So the Cal States do not look at subject tests at all. You don't even need to enter them in. So the options that we are choosing from on this particular one is we're going either ACT or we're going SAT. If one is clearly better than the other, then like ACT, for example, you can go ahead and put only your ACT in. If you're equal on both and you've taken both exams, then you can go ahead and put in both your ACT and your SAT. One thing to remember is even though we are putting in your test scores, you do have to have the official score report sent from the College Board and from ACT. Okay. So next I'm going to move on to advanced placement. So they just want to know if you have any AP scores that you want to report. So as I had mentioned earlier, this is different from if you actually have college credit from a college. Okay, so here we can indicate, okay, we do have AP scores that we want to report. In here you can go ahead and put in what the actual exam was, the date that you took it, and the score that you had received. Okay. You are able to put in future AP exams as well. Okay, so right now they're giving you 5 options. If you have more, you can go ahead and say yes to the question down below where it says, do you have additional AP scores to enter? The only thing for future ones, if you are taking them in May of your senior year, you obviously don't have your score, so you're just leaving that blank. Okay. Next, we have CLEP, which would end up actually being no for everyone. And then we have the IB exams as well. So not everybody has IB at their school. Not everybody's taking IB courses. So here, similar to AP, if you have the IB scores, you're going to go ahead and enter them in for future tests, because I know a lot of them are taken in spring of your senior year. You're just going to enter in the specific test that you are taking, the date that you are going to be taking it, and you're going to leave your score blank. Okay. So that's taken us through the academic history section. So if I just return back to my application, you're going to see it's not completely filled in green because obviously I skipped certain sections. It's not all done, but they're just showing me 3 of the 7 sections are completed. So until you have every individual section completed for all 4 categories here, you're not able to submit your application. Okay. So next we have supporting information. All right, so for this particular one, it's the Educational Opportunity Program. So what this is going to be is it's a program that's for like low income first generation students. So I do believe most of our students are no. If you have a question of whether or not you should be doing this, you can go ahead and ask us. We'd be happy to answer that for you. But again, most of you are going to be indicating no on that. Okay. So now what we can do is I have one more section to complete, which is the program materials page. Okay. So for program materials, what they're doing here is they're giving me the list of the colleges that I have added on here. So I had put down East Bay, I had put down Long Beach, and then Pomona. Okay, so if I click on each individual here, you're going to see for East Bay, all they're doing is just giving me general information about the program that I selected. Okay, there's nothing extra that I have to answer here. So that's why I'm given a check mark already. All right. Now for Long Beach, same thing. They're just giving me general information about the program. There are no extra questions that I have to answer. So I automatically get a green check mark saying that that particular section has been completed. Now for Pomona, I don't have that check mark here. And the reason for that is I do have the home page section right here where it gives me information about the program that I picked. But you're going to notice as I scroll up on the right-hand side here, there's another tab that says questions. So they do have a couple questions that they would like me to answer. Okay. So we're going to click on Pomona undergraduate questions. And one thing they're asking about is, are you interested in joining the Honors College? So we can go ahead and say yes to this. Okay. Now for the Honors College, for those of you that don't know what it is honors colleges are going to be more selective to get into from the general undergraduate school. Okay. But within the honors colleges, you're normally getting smaller class sizes for some of your courses, not all of them. There could be more research opportunities with professors at the school. You may have priority in class registration, which is great. So that means that you are not struggling with getting your courses and having to wait an extra semester or a year to take that. And sometimes there is honors housing specifically available on campus too. So keep in mind, if you say that you are interested in joining the honors college, but you don't meet the requirements, it does not mean that you are not going to be admitted to Pomona itself. Okay. Normally, in order to even be considered for an honors college, you have to be admitted into their general school first. Okay, so it doesn't hurt to give it a shot and try to apply for the honors college if you're near what their academic profile is. But if they're a 3.9 with a 30 ACT, you shouldn't be saying yes to it if you're a 3.1 with a 20 ACT. So just keep that in mind. Honors colleges are always a good idea. It's nice because it does make a larger school smaller as well. The other question they specifically have here is if you're interested in studying abroad. So it doesn't mean you have to do it. You're just telling them, yes, I am interested in it. So once we've answered these questions and I click save and continue, what you're going to see here is now I get that check mark next to Pomona. Okay. So if I go back to my application, you're going to see that the personal information has been completed, the supporting information has been completed, and the program materials are done. Now I just would have to go back into academic history and finish filling out all those sections that I have not done yet. Okay, so again, Cal State app is, it's pretty straightforward. There's no essays. They don't ask you about extracurricular activities. They're not going to look at letters of recommendations. They're strictly GPA and test scores, and that's it. Okay. Now, once you have completed all 4 sections and you're ready to submit your app, what we're able to do is go into the tab here where it says Submit Application. It's going to tell you what the fee is, dependent on how many schools that you have. Okay, so you're going to see here that they are charging you $70 per application. Okay, but right now, the reason that this isn't highlighted and allowing me to hit submit is because I don't have the academic history section completed. Okay, so you don't have to worry about submitting an incomplete application. They're just not going to give you the opportunity to do that. But again, you should not be hitting submit until we actually review the applications for you. Okay. So yeah, so that's kind of your general Cal State application here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a sec. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and unmute you guys, and then I will answer any questions that you have as well. So let's see.